Bart here, and I just wanted to drop in real quick and make a short video about seated yoga poses or seated stretching that you can do post-workout. You should always stretch after you work out. You should always warm up before you work out. So warm up doesn't necessarily involve stretching. You don't want to be overly stretched doing the old school 1, 2, 3 style static stretching, because then there'll be a corresponding decrease in both force and power output, depending on whatever activity you're doing. That could be highly detrimental to what you're doing either in the weight room or on the field. So we stretch after we work out, and we can spend that quality time in each stretch. So you don't have to worry about stretching too long unless there is some sort of compression involved. So when I do my basic seated stretching post-workouts, I don't do anything with compression. I start just very simply sitting down in a wide stance. And it doesn't have to be too wide. This isn't as wide as I can go, but it's comfortable both for the frame, for me to film, but also I'm not doing too much too quick. Maybe I warm up to it. Maybe I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and by that last one I'm very loose. So when I'm warming up, or when I'm cooling down and I'm doing my stretches, I'll unlock the knees, I'll extend my heels. I don't want my leg to be tilting down. That's indicative of strain. I don't want to strain. I want to be comfortable, and if I don't go very far, that's fine. I can always start by just getting up on my butt bones really tall. This might already be as far as you go. It might be here. I typically will work down slowly like a sphinx. I'm working down. And once I work down, I'll do just little presses as I loosen with the breath. So I'm breathing in. I'm getting less flexible. I'm breathing out. I'm getting more flexible. And after I've taken that full breath in, full breath out, I'm the most flexible that I am in that little section right before I take another breath in. Now, isn't that true for the rest of our life? We're told to take a deep breath. Why don't you take a deep breath? And then you'll think more clearly. That's why yoga transcends the rest of our life. The teaching, the lessons that we learn during the yoga class can directly influence the quality of our relations in the rest of our life, especially our reaction. Because I freak out all the time. I worry, I get anxious just like the rest of us, and I forget that I have all these tools, all these gifts that I could rely on. Now, every 1 out of 4 or 5 I get called back into my yoga practice, but there's still a good portion of the time where I'm reacting more than I should. So that's why we come back to the breath first, because you can do the breath in any posture that you're in. And then the poses, we focus on the breathing. We make the breathing really strong so that hopefully our mind will remember we're in that state of rage or anxiety, fear, or worry. Okay, so after I've done my forward, I'll work all the way down that I can. And maybe even further than I thought I could. I'll slowly, while I'm low in the chest, just work over. I keep both butt bones down. And again, depending on how sore I am, depending on how much my muscles are killing me, I might pull this leg in for a single-legged forward fold rather than a straddle. If you feel like your butt's lifting, back off, drop both butt bones down. Now, I am more flexible so that when I move from right here to over here, it's very easy. I mean, my stomach didn't get in the way. I also don't have a particularly large stomach. That can get in the way, it's a barrier. So you might need to come up, sit up tall, and then turn your chest towards this foot. That way your stomach can get up over the anterior superior iliac spine, those 2 hip bones that look like elephant ears. Okay. And like I said, I'm spending considerable time here. I'm not going to spend as much time as I typically spend in this posture because I'm filming a video. I'm going to move quicker through them. I just want you to see some of my flow. All right, I've been down twice, so I flexed and I flexed Now I might do an extension, so I might do just a wide-legged staff pose or a modified staff pose. Just get a simple back extension, chest expansion, let my spine relax because it's been flexed, now I'm extended. And I can come back over to this other side now. In class, I'll teach this a variety of ways. We might do like helicopter arms, where we work over. We might do a side bend on the way over, or we might get that full rotation of the spine as I work my heart closer to my right knee. All right, now after I do that one, because typically my hamstrings get the biggest pounding, so I'll do quite a few hamstrings before I do spine and maybe a couple hips. Now I'm again working here, but this particular posture, again, I always have to remind myself it could be difficult. You could always place a block under this knee. I'm using my block as a camera stand right now. And so this might make it easier for you. That might have been the barrier. You could have a meniscus related injury, so this foot might feel better over here. There's various ways that I can take this down, and if you've taught more than 10,000 yoga classes like me, you find that you'll switch it up even if you know it's not one of the favorite exercises of the class, even if it's a punishment, because yoga isn't always supposed to be roses, daisies, and daffodils. I've never said that before, but it's not always supposed to be enjoyable. If you can find a sense of calm and peace in an otherwise unenjoyable event, such as practicing a pose, again, that can transcend into other arenas in your life. So now, I can use that compact bone called the malleolus to press on my hamstring. Again, you might not be flexible enough for this just yet. A block would fit just fine right here. Next, I can use my calcaneus, so my heel bone, which is just like a compact baseball, and I can find the meat in my hamstring. Oh! And I can put it there. I can always use props like a lacrosse ball. That's a good one. It's very similar to this bone right here. I can always use one of these little guys. This seems to be pretty awesome. I'll be slightly elevated. I might press myself up here. Again, this is compression, 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 compression. You're also getting a length, so an end-to-end stretch. So what I did when I brought these out is I combined both the X and Y graph for how we stimulate our muscles. So our muscles respond to stretch, and they also respond to pressure. But things that I do for stretch doesn't activate those pressure centers, so I always want to have compression as a part of my rehabilitation, my therapeutic routine. Rehabilitation sounds like a bad thing, but high achieving athletes are constantly doing rehabilitation or preparation or practicing fine motor skills that you would think would be above them or below them, below them. And so all these little things matter. Stretching after you exercise matters because it's going to get you ready for the next one. So after I've done the one side, I'll do the other side. Now I've been in flex, 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 flex. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a break. So I'll do my wide knee child's pose. And this is going to relax my SI joint. My forearms are propping up my chest cavity and my shoulder girdle, so I'm not working in the spine the same way against gravity. And I relax. Shake out the ears. And then from there, I'll work into some kneeling lunges. So we'll call this lizard's pose or runner's lunge. As I've made clear in other videos, there's several levels to make this more difficult. I'm just going to show you one way to get more limber. Just a simple lunge, either hand up, hand down, both hands down, or both hands up. I go through both of these. Now I'm hitting my hip flexors. I was dominating hamstrings and flexor components of the spine. Now I'm hitting this hip flexor, a little bit of my psoas muscle, and I can definitely feel a little work for the hamstring on the other side, but in a completely different place. Now I'm working some of the outward rotators of the hip when I open up right here. So I'm working around the hips. The last two places will be targeting the spine and the gluteals as a part of a very basic, easy to remember post-workout stretching flow. Now, it flows because what I'm doing is creating a circle of stretches for the muscles. So sometimes it's like, oh, you're so cool, you created a flow. I don't think too highly of myself. I don't take myself too seriously, but it is fun in kind of an imaginative and playful way to design a series of stretches or exercises that go together. It's pretty satisfying. When it's disjointed and there is no flow, it feels chaos. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. I like things to have a certain kind of symmetry. All right. Next two exercises are designed for the spine. I'm going to lay down on my back. I'm going to interlace my fingers behind the back of the head, squeezing my forearms to my temple, taking a deep breath in. I'll exhale, gently roll my chin towards my chest. Pop, crack, snap, possibly. And I'll slowly lay my head back down more smoothly. I'll pull my knees in. I'll rock several gentle circles first one direction. Back the other direction. Taking my right arm out to the side. I'll take left hand to right knee. Inhale, look right. And I'll exhale, bring my knees to the floor on the left. Now, unless you're quite flexible and every day is different, you might notice that your arm doesn't reach down. I'd prefer that your arm comes down and the right knee comes up slightly, and then you can practice getting more flexible. You'll start to see that tight glutes and lower back play a heavy role in actually getting this pose completely flat to the floor or flush to the floor. I use a variety of terms, and sometimes I like to define them in class. Flat to the floor, flush to the floor, very similar, same thing. Slowly work that other side. And again, I'm feeling a little bit of lower back, so tight lower backs make this one a challenge if you're not really adept at already doing your twists. And then lastly, I'll set right foot down. I'll flex the toes up on the left foot. My entire ankle complex is outside the right thigh. I'll push with right knee into left shin, taking right hand to left foot, left hand to left thigh, so reverse pigeon. Now with the reverse pigeon, I can simply pull back. I can press with the right knee. I can push pull, or I'm pushing as I'm pulling. Oh. And I can always extend out if I have enough space and do cradle the baby. Cradle the baby. All right, so we'll switch sides. Reversing our pigeon. And if I need to make it more severe, I can reach through and pull with a downward angle. Oh, and it's like plunging out the hip joint. I'm squishing out the muscles. And it's easier if you're pulling the thigh through the legs as opposed to the top thigh, because then you're pulling through this leg, allowing this leg to kind of just ease into the stretch. All right. Afterwards, of course, take some time to lay flat, legs out, knees bent sometimes works better for some spines. You might take a fluffy bath towel and put it up under the back of your head so that your neck's a little bit more flush with the neck. You're not craned and tilted upwards like a CPR test dummy. And then what I do personally, that you can always add to your repertoire, is I elevate my legs. So I spend at least 10 minutes, if not longer, every single night, elevating my legs up above my heart so that I could use gravity to passively drain waste products, fluid out,
so that they can come faster up to the aorta, be reoxygenated, and then sent to the brain. Now there's a high pressure gradient pushing fluid through your vascular system and lymphatic system down towards the feet. It's 9.8 meters per second squared. You have a lot of tissue here, a lot of connective tissue, which creates a barrier. It's like salmon swimming upstream. It's a lot of work for the fluid in the body. So why not give it a kickstart, rev up the engines, and increase healing by doing this? So in athletic training, we have a very simple acronym. It's called RICE: rest, ice, compression, elevation. Now we've discussed rest. Rest is maybe laying flat, taking a day off, 2 days off. It's okay to take a week off. You should always engage in low-level aerobic activity. If you can every day, that's fine. That's not unresting, or that's not resting, okay? We have our compression, and then we just talked about our elevation. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you relax. Stay tuned for more. And then, of course, if I don't talk to you, have a happy 4th of July.